Welcome to the Chai Academy, being broadcast from the Chai Center. This is Rabbi Sachs, and we have begun a new course yesterday, which is basically a course on Jewish ethics and beliefs. So it's very broad, and we can, we can discuss. We can, there's so many things to discuss. So yesterday, um, we spoke about the concept of commanding versus voluntary. Which one is greater? To be told to do something, or to just to volunteer on your own without being told? And we discussed at great length yesterday that the best thing is commanded, because that will keep it going. If it's voluntary, eventually like we mentioned with the diet, we just give up, or we give in. However, if it's a commandment, now we have an additional push. This is not real. This is beyond ourselves. This is not just us wanting to do something, but rather this is more of us being asked to do something, which is really counterintuitive to Western society, as we discussed yesterday. And if you wish to view yesterday's class, you can always go to thechaicenter.com/academy. Hi, Eileen. Welcome. Today, we're going to talk about another concept. So once again, it's very broad, so we can really explore many different things. This is a biggie, and it is actually pretty incredible that we find ourselves even asking about it. Once again, Western society, in a court of law, you never pose a question if you don't know what the answer is going to be. So, a prosecuting attorney, the defendants or the plaintiff's attorney, either one, right? Don't ask if you're not sure what the answer is going to be, because it may lead to other things, and it could be deleterious to your case. Not so with God, and not so in Judaism. So I'm referring specifically today is where in Genesis, God talks about creation. The first day, the second day, the third day, etc. And then finally, he gets to the sixth day, after everything else has been created. And God uses this bizarre term of "let us make man." Not "I'm going to make man," or "now it's time for man to be created." Last but not least, no, "let us make man." Who's the us? Who's the us? What does it mean? Who is us? That's the first question. The second question I think that we could ask, and it's a viable question, is why do that? Why state "let us make man," which can create obvious confusion? Right? If the Torah is all about the one God, monotheistic, then why say "let us make man"? Because monotheism versus polytheism, right? Monotheism is there's one entity, and one sole entity at that. Polytheism is that there's more than one. So when you say, if the Torah is all about monotheistic beliefs, why say "let us make man"? It's almost like an attorney asking a question that will completely debunk their case, or their if you will, someone's testimony, not for their benefit. Right? So it's interesting, and to add to the question, I think we can even delve into this with more detail. If you ask a Mormon or certain Mormons about let us make man in our image, which is even, more of a bizarre, a Mormon would tell you, yeah, God has an image. God has an image. And God has a very clear, distinct image. And let's make man in its image, right? In God's image. God has a body. So therefore, we have a body. Eyes, nose, so on and so forth. Judaism rejects that notion completely. God is not a body. It's not corporeal. It's not physical. It's not. It's the one God, and it has no form or matter. Definitely not an image. If you go to a certain Christian theologies, they'll say, let us make man is the Trinity. Trinity. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost coming together, and let's make man. Now, Judaism rejects that notion as well. There's no Trinity. There's no triunity, for that matter. There's just the one monotheistic God. Right? And that's what Judaism is. So why give an opening to moments to say that God has a body? Why give an opening to certain Christians who say that this is proof of the Trinity? Why do that? And by the way, he debunks the Trinity in the next verse. Let us make man in our image. The next verse is, and he created man, singular. So you're sending confusing messages. He created image is the Jewish take. Yeah, God, just God alone created. God is the only creator. God is the only creator that can create nothing, something from nothing. The only thing. A human being can create something from something. A human being can take gas and make it liquid gas. And a human being can take oil and make it into plastic bags. A human being can take wood and make it into a table. But that's something from something. Only God can take nothingness, which is probably the God particle. Not sure though. And make it into something. So, and he created man, correct. So why give us the let us to make man? And the answer given, which is we're going to talk about various discussions. The answer given all boil down to the same response. It's because God wants to teach us a lesson in life. Yes, God could have chosen the easier path. Definitely, absolutely. God could have said, let me make man. And he created man. But he said, no, there's lessons to be learned and to be taught. There's fundamentals from the fact that God said, let us make man, that he's willing to forgo confusion. He's willing to forgo that people, human beings, mankind may say, maybe there's not monotheism. He's willing to forgo it. He's willing to say, you know what? Yes, so there'll be confusion. There'll be other opinions. But my lesson will be given. Right? The whole point of Torah is life instructions, right? Torah is the manual for mankind. We have a manual for our car. We have a manual for our printer. We have a manual for our phone, for our fan, for our cell phone, for our calculator, for crying out loud. We have no manual for living. And the answer is we do. It is the Torah. The Torah is the manual for life. Torah means to teach, because Torah is a teaching instrument. So therefore, God says, it's more important for me to get a teaching across, a point across, a fundamental, across than me giving provisos and caveats, as we'll explain. So there are different explanations, different teachings we can glean from the fact that God said, let us make man. And he created man in his image. Once again, he sent up balloons of confusion. Image, bodily, physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. What does it mean, his image? And also let us, as we explored earlier. By the way, this is a good time to pause. If you have a question, in Zoom we could do it interactive. Facebook, it's more of write a question, write a comment. If there's something you have to add to the conversation, by all means, now's your time. You can always do it later after the video is concluded, the class is concluded, and I will respond publicly. But now we can actually talk about it. So, and by the way, Eileen, it says anniversary follower. I don't really know what that means. I have no idea what that means. But I guess you've been in touch for over a year. I'm not sure. So going back to the topic, what are the teachings that we could learn from let us make man? Remember, it's already debunked in the next verse. And he created. So what is let us make man? So it's something like this. Who was God talking to? Who was God talking to when he said, let us make man? And when we answer this question, we'll understand the teachings. A couple of different responses. There's commentaries. Rashi, the great commentator Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, one of the greatest commentators, who the belief is he had divine prophecy, explains as follows: that God was talking to the angels. Remember, the angels were created on the second day of creation. So God was talking to the angels, and God was saying to the angels, I want your consent. I don't need your consent, but I want your consent. I want you to be part and parcel of this. I want you to be involved in this decision. Once again, I don't need it. But it's almost like a board meeting. A board meeting, you have a board meeting together, and you have a decision maker, the chairman of the board, and he has veto power, but he wants it to be at least a majority, or he wants input. We had our previous Governor Como, right? Now we have a new one, Kathy Hochul, but Governor Andrew Cuomo ran the state as one man. In fact, when he resigned and the new governor took over, she said, I wasn't consulted on his decisions. So you made decisions. For example, COVID. What is considered an essential business? He made that. He didn't run it by. There was no consensus of opinion. He just did it. And it was more of a, king, dictator, than a governor. A governor is supposed to have a lieutenant governor and a legislator and the assembly and et cetera, et cetera. But he didn't. God is teaching us a lesson here. Don't run your business. Don't run your family. You can have a spouse, for crying out loud. Don't decide on your own what is to be done, not to be done. Right? Get acquiescence, get help, delegate, whatever it may be. And that's one of the lessons, and it's a powerful lesson. Right? Get help. Get consensus. Get others involved. Right? There are times where I've been a dismal leader. I've made decisions from this chair how to run the Chai Center. Sometimes it's necessary. But other times, I could have helped myself by bringing in a staff meeting, bringing in the board. We had a very difficult decision to make over the high holidays. Vaccinated, not vaccinated, mask, not mask. I could have made a decision. I could have just said, this is what we're doing. But what type of leader am I if I had done that? So I brought in, and we made a board decision. Did I agree? By the way, which is fascinating in itself. Did I agree with everything the board decided? Absolutely not. However, I don't live in a vacuum. Right? And that's the point God was teaching. Don't be a dictator. Don't be a king. Be encompassing. Embrace. Listen to someone else's opinion. And God said, I'd rather teach that lesson and create confusion than for me just to give the opinion. Phenomenal. What is that lesson? What is the lesson? The lesson is one of humility. You got your own opinions. You got your own way. You got your own fiefdom. You got your own, you have the power to do X, Y, and Z. But be humble. And don't. Bring in others. Include others. Don't make it your baby. Make it our baby. And I will tell you, I'll be first to tell you, that if a parent makes decisions without consulting the spouse, it's immoral, A. B, it's deleterious to the child. And C, it will not create domestic harmony. It will lead to arguments and fights in front of the child. It will also lead to the child manipulating. Well, Daddy, I know you didn't agree with Mommy's decision, but can we have ice cream? But talk about it. And that's of course that's a benign discussion. But talk about it. You're not a king. You're not a dictator. You're not the monarch. You're not the prime minister of your family. You're a parent. You're a co-parent. I was speaking to somebody yesterday, by the way, who told me they were not. Obviously, they're divorced, and the child became of age and had a bar mitzvah, and the father didn't invite the mother. Do you know how insane that is? You know how wrong that is? Forget immoral, it's amoral. The person has no clue what morality is. You don't invite the other parent. Well, you'll do your bar mitzvah and I'll do the bar mitzvah and I'll do the bar. You're parenting. You brought this kid in, figure it out. And don't do these unilateral moves. Have humility. And that is the exact message. Have humility. So get the angels involved. The angels are, an important part of creation, and we interact with them subconsciously, and they interact with us. Right? The second reason, which is given by Nachmanides, who said that actually God was looking at the ingredients of man. Right? God said, Earth, I'm going to need you. Water, I'm going to need you. Fire, I'm going to need you. Air, I'm going to need you. Zinc, I'm going to need you. Right? And the elements, right? Potassium, I'm going to need you. God was saying, okay, I'm going to need you. Right? In order to make man, I need ingredients. To make anything, you need ingredients. The fact that God made potassium from nothing, that's brilliant. But he needed ingredients. So that's what Nachmanides says. Others say, which I believe may even be Rashi also, that he was talking to the attributes of man. Right? Man has attributes: intellectual faculties, emotional attributes, and man has the ability to be in control of their emotions, think things through, right? Not so any other creation, right? An animal doesn't have the ability. Hello, Rabbi Steve, Big Mo, how are you? By the way, Big Mo is coming all the way from Safed, on November 19th for a Friday night dinner. We're going to join together, and we'll have Rabbi Siev will be talking Kabbalah. All the Kabbalists came from Sfat. So Rabbi Big Mo will be regaling us with Kabbalah and stories of the Kabbalists. November 19th. I believe you'll be able to find it on the website today. He's saying to the attributes: wisdom, understanding, knowledge, kindness, discipline, giving, taking, compassion, perseverance, humility. So the other one was just humility. Here, humility, connection, statesmanship. These are all on one leg. But let's make man. We need to do this. A human being has the ability to think things through. An animal doesn't have the ability. And, an animal is what's a definition of a good dog? Anybody know? So a good dog is obedient, right? A Nazi that trains its German Shepherd, is that a good dog? Me, who trains my German Shepherd to bite an anti-Semite and a Nazi, is that a good dog? I think so. So what's a good dog? So a dog doesn't have the intellect and emotions, right? A human being, by the way, is the only creation that can make fire from scratch. Make fire. Strike a match. An animal wouldn't be able to do it. The smartest animal. Dolphin couldn't do it. An ape couldn't do it. Right? A primate were the only ones that could do it. So God brought all these attributes together. Unlike the earth, fire, air, and water and the elements, this is more ethereal, right? Earth, fire, air, and water is subject. It's earth. It's fire. It's even if it's more spiritual side of things, but we can understand it. An emotion, you can measure an emotion for sure, but it's way more. And a thought is really metaphysical, spiritual. So God said, let us make man. Human being is the only creation that has free will. Free will. We can trespass against the will of our creator, the will of our boss, the will of our spouse. We have free will. We know they hate it. Right? We know in marriage we have to be loyal, and we have the ability to be disloyal. We have the ability to cheat. Unthinkable. Right? Everything else is more of a pre-programmed chip, right? An animal is a pre-program. It's a pre-program. Yes, an animal can be loving. Of course, it has that emotion. Animal could be angry, has that emotion, but it's all pre-programmed. In fact, whether we like chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream is also pre-programmed, by the way. You know, cottage cheese, or despise cottage cheese as I do. It's pre-programmed. You like it, I don't. It's not really a free choice. Free choice is in moral decisions. And God said, let's do it. The Ibn Ezra, I believe, another great commentary. So he says, you know what? This is not anything other than God it's a majestic pluralism. Let us make man. You know, as you know, the comprehensive we, from a majestic. It's called majestic pluralism. That you know, it's almost like a king who gets up there and says, "We." Who's the we? It's majestic. That's what the Ibn Ezra says. The Midrash homiletic explanation says that he was trying to avoid arguments from the entire creation. Entire creation. We're going to make man. And man is going to rule because he's going to be created in my image. In other words, he's going to have the power to rule over animals, rule over plants, rule over angels, rule over mundane objects. So, guys, I'm letting you know, I'm letting you in a secret. We're going to make man. We are going to make man. And we're going to have to acquiesce to man. The question that we need to answer, and this will be answered in tomorrow's class, is why? Why bother? Why make man? Why make the world? Why bother? God was lonely? God is not lonely. God is not. God, you know, wants a little loving. God doesn't need our loving. Right? God wants to have fun and games. Please God, not on my account. Why? Why do it? Why create man? Why create the world? Why do it? Right? So that will be explored in tomorrow's class, which will be entitled, Why did he create the world? Why? Why bother? Any questions? Now's a good time to ask. If you wish to review this class, you can go to the Chai Center, chaicenter.com/academy. Please, I'm asking you to share this class because the only way to get more views is for this class to be plugged. A practical joke, Lenny? Did God create this world? Sometimes it seems that way. Right? Sometimes it seems that way. Hope you enjoyed, and we will reconvene. God bless.